Why so many women discover they have ADHD after their daughter is diagnosed. The diagnosis was supposed to explain her daughter. Instead, it explained her entire life. Welcome back to the Path to Peace Therapy podcast. I'm Stephanie Buckley, ADHD specialist and family systems coach and host of the Path to Peace Therapy podcast. I work with children, teens, young adults, couples, and families navigating ADHD, anxiety, depression, OCD, emotional dysregulation, executive functioning challenges, and the complex relationship dynamics that often develop around them. I am also the mother of a now thriving neurodivergent young adult, and much of what I teach comes not only from my clinical training, but from spending more than 2 decades living inside a neurodivergent family system myself. Today, I want to talk about something I have witnessed repeatedly throughout my work with families. It is one of the most powerful moments I see in my office, and it often begins with a mother who believes she is seeking answers for her daughter. Imagine sitting in a pediatrician's office, a therapist's office, or an ADHD evaluation appointment because you are worried about your daughter. She is bright. She is capable. She is creative. She is thoughtful. She may even be getting good grades. Yet something is not adding up. Homework takes hours. Simple assignments seem overwhelming. Small mistakes lead to tears. She procrastinates until the last minute and then somehow pulls everything together under tremendous pressure. She seems emotionally sensitive, forgetful, perfectionistic, anxious, and constantly worried about disappointing people. Like any loving parent, you want answers. You want to understand what is happening. You want to know how to support her. You want to know why life seems harder for her than it appears to be for her peers. What you do not expect is that somewhere during that appointment, the conversation slowly stops feeling like it is about your daughter and starts feeling like it is about you. As the clinician begins describing ADHD in girls, something strange begins happening. The symptoms sound familiar, not because you recognize them in your daughter, because you recognize them in yourself. Executive functioning challenges, feeling chronically overwhelmed, procrastination, perfectionism, people-pleasing, anxiety, emotional sensitivity, time blindness, difficulty prioritizing, feeling overwhelmed by simple tasks. Suddenly, you are not thinking about your daughter anymore. You are remembering yourself. You are remembering forgotten homework assignments. You are remembering projects started the night before they were due. You are remembering report cards that described you as bright but inconsistent. You are remembering feeling like everyone else somehow received a manual for life that you never got. For many women, this becomes one of the most profound moments of self-discovery they will ever experience. The diagnosis that was supposed to explain their daughter begins explaining their entire life. One of the reasons I feel so passionate about this topic is because I have watched this unfold repeatedly in my work with families. As an ADHD and OCD therapist and family systems coach, I cannot tell you how many times a mother has brought her daughter into my office because she is concerned about anxiety, perfectionism, emotional regulation, procrastination, or executive functioning challenges. The daughter is usually the identified patient. She is the one struggling in school. She is the one having emotional meltdowns. She is the one feeling overwhelmed. She is the reason the family is seeking help. But somewhere during the conversation, something shifts. I begin explaining ADHD in girls. I begin discussing executive functioning. I begin talking about emotional regulation, perfectionism, rejection sensitivity, working memory, task initiation, and overwhelm. And then I notice the mother becoming emotional. Her eyes begin to fill with tears. She starts nodding. She starts laughing nervously. She says things like, "Oh my gosh, I used to do that." Or, "Wait a minute, that's me." Or, "I thought everybody felt that way." As a clinician, I have learned to pay attention to those moments because they are often incredibly significant. What I am witnessing is someone beginning to rewrite a story they may have carried for 30, 40, or even 50 years. why so many women were missed. For decades, ADHD research focused primarily on boys. The symptoms professionals were trained to recognize were the symptoms adults could easily see: hyperactivity, impulsivity, behavioral disruptions, difficulty sitting still, excessive talking. The children who drew attention to themselves received attention from adults. Many girls never fit that picture. Instead of becoming disruptive, they became anxious. Instead of acting out, they turned their struggles inward. Instead of drawing attention to themselves, they became experts at hiding their difficulties. Many girls learned to compensate. They became perfectionists. They became people pleasers. They became high achievers. They became the dependable one. They became the daughter who worked twice as hard as everyone around her while nobody realized how much effort it took just to keep up. Teachers saw completed assignments. Parents saw good grades. Coaches saw commitment. Nobody saw the panic. Nobody saw the self-criticism. Nobody saw the late nights. Nobody saw the tremendous emotional cost of appearing successful. This distinction between appearance and experience is critical. Many women who receive ADHD diagnoses later in life spent decades appearing successful while privately feeling overwhelmed. The Bowen Family Systems perspective. One of the reasons I find this phenomenon so fascinating is because of my family systems background. Bowen Family Systems Theory teaches us that individuals do not develop in isolation. We develop within emotional systems. Families are interconnected. Anxiety moves through families. Coping mechanisms move through families. Strengths move through families. Patterns move through families. Sometimes a child's diagnosis reveals something about the child. Sometimes it reveals something about the entire family system. I often tell parents that the family is like a mobile hanging from the ceiling. If you touch one part of the mobile, every other part moves. Families operate the same way. When one family member changes, everyone else responds. A daughter's ADHD diagnosis often becomes a mirror. Not because the daughter created ADHD in her mother. Not because every mother of an ADHD child has ADHD, but because the process of understanding one family member often illuminates patterns that have existed within the system for generations. The daughter becomes the doorway through which a mother finally understands herself. The perfectionistic mother and the perfectionistic daughter. One of the most common scenarios I encounter involves perfectionism. A mother brings her daughter in because she is worried about anxiety. The daughter gets excellent grades, but she is exhausted. She spends hours on assignments. She rewrites papers repeatedly. She panics over mistakes. A single B feels devastating. As we explore the daughter's history, I become curious about the mother. I ask what school was like for her. Almost immediately, the stories sound remarkably similar. The mother was bright. She procrastinated. She worried constantly. She overprepared. She feared disappointing people. She stayed up late completing assignments. She appeared successful, but she was exhausted. For years, she viewed these struggles as personality traits. What she often begins realizing is that many of those behaviors may have been adaptations to undiagnosed ADHD, the household manager. Another common scenario involves mothers who appear highly organized from the outside. These women manage family schedules, appointments, school communications, sports activities, meals, work responsibilities, and household logistics. Everyone assumes they are naturally organized, but privately they feel like they are drowning. The only reason things stay together is because they are working twice as hard as everyone around them. They have calendars everywhere, lists everywhere, alarms everywhere, reminders everywhere. As they learn about executive functioning, working memory, time blindness, and cognitive overload through their daughter's diagnosis, they suddenly realize they have spent decades building compensatory systems without understanding why they needed them. The emotional impact. For many women, the diagnosis itself is not the emotional part. The grief is. They begin looking backward. What would school have been like if someone had recognized this? What would relationships have been like? What opportunities might have felt different? How many years were spent believing they were lazy, undisciplined, too emotional, scattered, or somehow not enough? There is often sadness, there is often anger, there is often grief, but there is also tremendous relief, because for the first time, their story makes sense. For the first time, they stop viewing themselves as broken. For the first time, they realized they were not lazy. They were struggling. They were not failing. They were compensating. They were not lacking effort. They were working harder than anyone realized. Breaking generational patterns. One of the most beautiful outcomes of this process is what happens next. When mothers begin understanding themselves differently, they often begin parenting differently. Instead of asking, "Why can't she just do it?" they begin asking, "What is making this difficult?" Instead of assuming laziness, they become curious. Instead of criticism, they offer support. Instead of shame, they offer understanding. That shift has the power to change an entire family system, because understanding creates compassion. Compassion creates connection. Connection creates safety, and safety creates growth. Sometimes the diagnosis was never just about the daughter. Sometimes the daughter's diagnosis becomes the beginning of healing for 2 generations at the same time. Sometimes the answers a mother has spent her entire life searching for arrive while she is trying to help her child. And in helping her child, she finally learns how to help herself. If today's episode resonated with you, I encourage you to share it with another parent, educator, clinician, or woman who may be carrying questions about herself that have never quite been answered. You can find additional resources, podcast episodes, articles, and information about working with me at thepathtopeacetherapy.com. If you are in California, I work with children, teens, young adults, couples, and families navigating ADHD, anxiety, OCD, executive functioning challenges, emotional regulation, and family systems dynamics. I also provide parent coaching for families around the country. Thank you for spending this time with me today. And remember, understanding creates compassion, compassion creates connection, and small shifts within a family system can create ripple effects that last for generations.